Okay, so let's start by lying on the block with the shoulders on the block. And you can have the legs out straight or Baddha Konasana, feet together, knees apart. Taking your time getting there. There's no rush. Sponging out anything that needs a little sponging out along the way. I always talk about the hip joints here if you're going to Baddha Konasana, just because that's my thing, but maybe it's a couple shoulder circles that are going to help you settle in there more easily on your block, opening that upper chest. And as that physical body gets more settled in, bringing your attention more to the breath. Inhaling and exhaling. Maybe, like me, your physical body's not getting settled in so well today. And with every breath, letting go of the rest of the day, letting go of the rest of the world. Inhaling and exhaling. And if you feel inspired, breathing out through the arms, breathing those arms up overhead. And breathing them back down or lingering anywhere. And then taking a few more breaths here. And gently making your way up to sitting. And sitting in Sukhasana with the crossed legs. And using those arms alongside, lengthening up. Getting space between the vertebrae, space in the hip sockets. Whatever squinging and shifting might still be needed. Sometimes it might not be your body that needs the squinging. It might be your mind needs a little something to do, a little more sensation to attach to. So sometimes we want to not give in to that inclination, but other times we maybe need to. All right, it's the same kind of idea as we are now with our hands on our knees, balancing that effort and ease in the body. Inhaling and exhaling. The default yoga position is always about relaxing more, letting go more, about being still and quiet. But sometimes you're not quite ready for that. And then you do what you need to find that place of balance and equity. And then reaching out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Inhale and exhale, breathing those arms up, taking up lots of space, breathing them down. Let's do that twice more. And then taking a twist to the right. Inhale, making lots of space. Exhale and twist. And if you want, maybe adding a half binding or any other variation in the twist. And coming back to the center, and let's twist to the left. Inhale and exhale. And then maybe adding the half binding or anything else you want to do. Breathing into the twist. Coming back to the center, and we're remembering which leg we have in front as we go to the giant bug position, reaching those arms inside the legs, holding onto the ankles or shins, giving a little pull up. So don't try to pull your feet in too close so it kind of swinges you in. Let's see, I have about, I guess that's about a 90-degree bend in my knees. Could be even a little bit bigger. And here we are, pulling up out of the waist. Inhale and exhale, like sitting happy baby. And then let's bring those arms around behind and interlock the fingers, rolling out and leaning back. So maybe, probably if you lean far enough back, those hands will get on the floor. And then pull forward and up from there. And then coming back up, arms inside again, and we will twist to the right. So I'm going to do my real right here as we twist to the right. Holding on to that ankle or shin, or maybe hand on the floor will work better for you. Breathing out through the front of that right shoulder. And to swoop around to the left. Inhale and exhale. So twisting through the spine, trying to get that right shoulder lower than the left. And then letting the line of the left arm follow from where the spine and shoulders are twisting. And coming back to the center. Floating lotus, balancing up on the sitting bones. You can have the hands behind the legs as we press the shins up. So my knees are still a little bit wide, kind of out toward the outer shoulders, maybe even wider. Shins are very purposefully parallel to the floor, feeling like the top of the foot to the knee is pressing to the ceiling. Lifting up through the upper chest. So maybe keep holding with the hands, or you can bring them off, palms up, maybe the Jian Mudra, tip of the thumb and index finger together. Even though it might be a lot of effort in our floating, trying to float. And then bring those legs down. Let's bring them into parallel. And we'll do the reverse tabletop. We'll circle with the shoulders, fingertips forward, diagonal or side. The more they head toward the side, the more useful on the wrists in general. All right, and then pressing the feet into the floor, lifting from underneath the backs of the legs, the gluteus maximus. Then a little push in the arms, pulling those upper arms toward each other like interlocked fingers. Inhaling and exhaling. Maybe we can stay here 4 to 6 breaths, but coming down when you need to. And then we'll all come down. Healing those hands up and out to Konasana, the angle pose, the straddle. Giving a little lift up from behind, a big yawn on the inner thighs. And we'll come forward. So you can press from behind, maybe hands on the legs or in front. Inhaling into the center, exhale, extending out. So not too much over with the upper body. Take a few moments thinking long and flat, trying to press from the lower back and sacrum down and forward, almost like you're trying to cow back. And then a long, smooth reach out through the top of the head. And coming up, and we'll bring those legs in and coming up in downward facing dog. Walking the dog or anything else you want to do there.
And then finishing up with whatever you are doing. Finding the best downward facing dog you can do at this moment. Nothing moving but the breath. Inhaling and exhaling. And then lengthening forward to the plank, long and flat against the ceiling. You can always take a little detour through child's pose as needed. A little more. Great. There it goes. That's the saggy part. All right, and then let's come down, sitting back in child's pose. Yeah, often where things kind of give way just a little is here at the bottom of the rib cage in the plank, and we need to draw those lower ribs sort of have a little in and toward each other. Right there, and just above the belly button. And that's extra hard because there's the big, strong abdominal muscles kind of start to thin out there. So that's, we're using more of the rib cage muscles. Maybe, I don't know, I haven't looked up what we're using there exactly, so I better stop talking. Anyway, and let's come forward into the Sphinx. Pulling back with the elbows, pulling back with the hands. And then we're going to do that cat back sort of a thing here. So this is where you can look for those lower ribs drawing in because they're definitely stretched out a little here. Pulling those lower ribs in and up and toward each other. And then continuing lifting up off the floor. And then lengthening back out. And let's do that twice more. Drawing in and lifting up. And lengthening out. And then once more. And then a breath or two here in that Sphinx. And coming down, deep breath into the lower back and middle back there. And then feeling ourselves back up to downward facing dog. Let's see, oh, on the way there, we're going to be doing the side bend in our kneeling lunge. So you might want the block to make the floor closer. So putting the block on your right side about halfway along the mat or so in case you need it. And then here we are, downward facing dog. And going through the vinyasa smoothly, any version coming to the leg. And then feeling those lower ribs drawing up, maybe even literally pulling up like I am there if you can see me. And then holding on to that and lengthen out. All right, and then before we're too tired, continuing with the vinyasa. And downward facing dog. And let's lift our right leg up, reaching down through the left heel, reaching down through the arms, which is different than being heavy and weighted down through the arms, reaching into the floor, reaching to the ceiling with your right foot, and through to the lunge. And we'll bring that left knee down in Jayasana. Inhaling up the front and exhale, pouring down the back. And then bringing those arms down, and we'll side bend over to the right, maybe your right hand on the block. Or you can move the block in closer. We'll put the block wherever your hand wants to go. And then if we reach around, coming to Namaste, that's the hard part. Inhale and exhale, strong center. Breathing the arms up overhead. And then a big wide reach down with both arms. And we'll turn to the elephant rider. Pressing those knees out. A little scoot forward with the tailbone. Maybe a little shift and squinge. And so I'm not the mirror here, not that it will matter if there's going back and forth in the slide. So if your feet are not especially wide in your elephant rider, making them a little wider makes the slide work better as we shift toward our left leg, toward the back of the mat, straightening the right leg. And then shifting across toward the right leg, straightening the left. And doing that 2 more sets over to the left. And breathe over to the right. Once more each side. And then we'll finish back in the center for a moment. And straightening the legs, wide leg forward bend, turning the feet to parallel. And then turning back to the right lunge toward the front of the mat. And stepping forward into the concave back, halfway up. Holding over. Coming up to standing big front body yawn. And without overdoing it, taking a circle all the way around with the arms. Hard not to overdo it. And then Namaste in front, strong into the center. We're feeling those hands doing a little press and press against each other. 2 long sides of the body. And then we will go to the other side. Big lift up. And diving over. Concave back and folding over. Jumping or stepping back through the vinyasa, downward facing dog. Playing around with those lower ribs for a moment. And then there we are, downward facing dog. Let's lift our left leg up, reaching down through the right heel to reach up through the left, reaching down through the arms. So we're stretching into the floor, stretching that left leg up to the ceiling. And through to the lunge. And we'll bring that right knee down. We'll check where your block is if you need to move it to your left side. And coming up in Jayasana, the kneeling lunge. And bringing those arms down, and we'll side bend to the left. You can bring that block into wherever you need. It can even be on your mat if that's where your left hand wants to go. And then the big reach around to Namaste, strong center. Arms up. And a big reach down. And turning to the elephant rider. We did it here. Bending those knees. And then instead of the slide, we're going to warrior two, to the right leg to the back of the mat. So adjust your feet to the warrior two stance. And then coming up in the warrior two, maybe using your right hand on that knee as needed. Feeling the left side reaching toward the front of the mat, the right side reaching toward the back. Feel that reach coming all the way from the center, from the spine out, the ribs, from the center of the pelvis out, the hip bones. So it's not just a pull with the arms or with the legs. And then dancing warrior, right arm up. And windmilling down and back through the elephant rider a moment. Take a breath, centering, and then warrior two on the left, pivoting the feet around to the base of the warrior two, and coming up warrior two on the left, facing the front of the mat. Most importantly, the other side. And reaching wide all the way from the center of the body. Dancing warrior, bringing that left arm up. And windmilling down. And we'll go to the wide leg forward bend this time as we come back to the side center. Straight legs, parallel feet. And turn back to the left lunge toward the front of the mat. And stepping forward into the concave back, halfway up, and folding over. Coming up to standing, big front body yawn. And then an extra circle with the arms. And Namaste in front. And coming back over. Concave back, folding over, vinyasa, downward facing dog. Taking 3 deep breaths here. Pull those inner upper arms forward and then around and out. And then toward the ears. Coming down, sitting back in child's pose. And then let's come forward onto our stomach into the Sphinx. Taking a pull there with the elbows and hands to even the sides out. Reaching through the toes. And then let's do that lift up again, finding those lower ribs, pulling the elbows and knees toward each other. And then lengthening back. Calming down, I'm going to take our arms out to cactus arms. All right, and so we don't have our full long arms, but still feel that reaching out to the side, all the way from the center of that upper back, out the elbows. Pulling those elbows wide. And then we'll lift up in a version of Salvasana here. So as you lift up, try not to let the elbows go up and hands go down. Feel the back of the hand pressing up, not flexing the wrist, just pressing up. Or the whole lower arm pressing up, you can think of that. Trying to have our lower arm parallel to the floor, parallel to the ceiling. And then reach out through those elbows. Not too much pull back, a little more square to the side. A little different thing. Coming down. Let's do that once more. Yeah, so pull back, that's a good thing to try to pull those elbows back more cobra-like, but it's a little bit different to be put parallel. Oh, my arms are tired, they won't do it. But let's try it again. All right, on the floor, getting situated. So there is a feeling of the elbows pulling back as we lengthen and lift, but they're not pulling back past that 90-degree T angle with the shoulders, or not very much. So we're lifted off the floor. Maybe we've already done enough of this. A couple more breaths. Coming down. And then pull the hands a little back by the shoulders, up on the pads of the fingers, and dropping the chin. So here's another place to really look for those lower ribs as we roll up In the giant bug cobra, pull those elbows wide. So here's the elbows pulling wide again as you come down.
And we'll do that 3 more times.
Rolling up and widening down. And then peeling ourselves back up to downward facing dog. No need to rush though. Maybe a little cat and cow along the way. Maybe child's pose. It's already getting pretty warm here. I don't know about where you are. You think it's warm, Judith?
I'm okay, I like it.
I like it warm, but if I feel like it's getting warm, it's probably getting hot. Yeah, I don't find it unpleasant, but it is definitely warm. Let's come up and downward facing dog.
And if you want to go through a vinyasa, go ahead. I'm going to do the or not myself for those who just want to do along with me. And then we'll lift our right leg and dog at the high fire height. You still reach through that right knee, just like you reach through the whole straight leg. And through to the lunge. Warrior number 2 again. Reaching wide. Dancing warrior, and then into the triangle, Trikonasana, straightening up that right leg, lengthening out the 2 sides, and then also widening those 2 sides, taking up lots of space from the floor to the ceiling. And then coming up to standing, reaching back with our left arm, coming up, turning the feet to parallel, and we'll rotate the left leg out 90 degrees toward the back of the mat, and then into the warrior 2. Widening out. And make sure that left foot is pointing straight back as we dancing warrior. So we're going to the triangle again. And inhale and exhale, triangle, Trikonasana on the left toward the back of the mat. Widening out, long through the top of the head. And then reaching back with our right arm, we come back up to standing, feet to parallel. Deep breath, back to the right side. Rotating that right leg. And then just be here with the straight legs. Take a moment, pulling up the center. Let's bring the arms up overhead. Really feeling that center, the 2 legs like they're dragging toward each other and into the triangle again. Tilting over. And then next option, taking the hands to Namaste here. Maybe coming up a little higher, even as we press into the center, widening out. Doing lots of work in the torso here. And then expand the arms again. Turn into the lunge. And we'll walk our right foot out to the right side of the mat, arms inside the leg, and lizard lunge. Take a couple breaths with our back leg still straight. So right foot out more toward the edge of the mat, if it'll go to you, or the left foot more toward the left, either direction. And then we'll bring that left knee down and maybe sinking down. Maybe you can get to the elbows, maybe it's just bent arms. You can also grab your block and let your elbows come to rest on the block. And then it's gonna fall off my block here. We'll make our way out of this. And let's just come back to child's pose. We'll take the low road. Inhale and exhale. Maybe noticing a big difference in your right and left hip here, or not. All right, and then let's do that around on the left. So coming up and downward facing dog through the vinyasa any version. So I'm going to go through the vinyasa this time rather than do the or not, but please feel free to do the or not. All right, here we go on the left, lifting the left leg up. Bending the knee dog at the high fire height. Reaching out through that left knee. And through to the lunge. Warrior number 2 on the left. Pulling wide all the way from the center of the dancing warrior. And into the triangle trikonasana, hinging over. Lots of space, reaching up, reaching down, expanding from the center. So sort of a general expand from the center, a radiating out expand. There's a front to back expand. There's a side to side. There's an up and down. Side to side and up and down are kind of the same here since we're tilted sideways. And then reaching back with the right arm, coming up to standing, turning the feet to parallel. Deep breath, rotating that right leg out 90 degrees into the warrior 2. So that knee tracks over the foot, pressing the outer knee back. And then dancing warrior right on up. And into the triangle Trikonasana. And so I'm here talking about our expanding sides. Maybe it's all about your right hamstring today or your right inner thigh. So it's always that. You always choose to be working with what you need to be working with most today, or maybe something's going on with your knee. We have those expanding sides, which makes our torso and core muscles all work more, which puts a little less strain and stress on the legs. And then reaching back with the left arm, we come up to standing again, feet to parallel, and turning the left foot out 90 degrees. And here we are with our straight legs, pulling both legs in and up the center line. Let's bring the arms up to encourage that. And then tilting over into the triangle again. And then maybe taking the hands to Namaste, pressing into the center and widening and expanding the arms out again. Down to the lunge and headed for the lizard. Walk that left foot out to the edge. Hands on the inside. You can even shift your right foot to the left or the right foot to the right more too if you want to go even wider. Straight leg for a couple breaths. And then bringing the right knee down and sinking down and inside that left leg any amount. Maybe using the block there for your forearms. And then coming up and out, retrieving that left leg, sitting back in child's pose. And coming up, and let's come down to the floor and we'll do our combination bridge pose, both on the block and then lifting up into the bridge pose, or whatever you want to do, how you want to work it. So we're going to come down to the floor. Step number 1. Inhale and exhale, letting go. And then we'll get that block, putting the block under the legs, lifting up, sliding the block under the sacrum, and sliding those legs out to straight. Breathing. Inhaling into the lower belly, exhale, pouring out. And then bending the knees, and we'll come up in the bridge pose. If you can interlock the fingers there. You can always move the block if you would rather just move that block. And pressing into the feet, lifting the pelvis up. Rolling the shoulders out, upper arms into the floor. So we're doing all very similar actions to that reverse tabletop that we had there at the beginning. You can hold this bridge pose a few more breaths. If you want to come down and maybe go to Urdhva Dhanurasana, doing that. Big back bend. And you can come down whenever you're ready to come out of that bridge pose. And then you can either supported bridge pose again, or maybe going to Shavasana, or anything else you want to do. And we'll all be in Shavasana in the next few moments. Finishing up whatever you're doing for yourself. Don't feel like you have to rush. Breathe like you have all the time in the world. And then if you're still doing something, finishing up with that, making your way down and to Shavasana. If you're still on your way to Shavasana, remember you can still get halfway there by softening the face and jaw, breathing a little more deeply, maybe even closing the eyes. And here we are, Shavasana, just resting against the floor. And breathing back into your body, into the room. Moving the fingers and toes, circling wrists and ankles. Bending the knees, stretching the arms up overhead. And then gently making your way up to sitting. And sitting in any comfortable position with the long and spacious spine, taking a few more moments sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming.